Holy Bible. From before I was born, our forefathers and mothers believed in the scriptures. They believed in the written word of God, even when they were under the master at that time. And they gave us a powerful legacy for us to wake with. But yet we're hearing all kind of problems now with young people. They're not even getting as young as I am. I always tell these young men I need to get them to be as young as I am, but I just see them disappearing all the time. We've had some trouble last night and this morning, violence breaking out, people shooting and knocking down one another. That means we have serious problems. But today we're going to talk about adolescents, the teenagers, the problems they have. We have Tyrone Johnson here as my special guest. He's going to be talking about this particular issue as it affects young people. Mr. Johnson, welcome to Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Express yourself.
Thank you very much, Professor Thompson. And of course, good afternoon, Bahamas, and all of your listeners. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we thank you very much for coming because it is a very serious problem. In fact, I've heard the report a few times read on the air, and it's very, very disturbing. Of course, there's another prominent personality who has some different views of that particular report. It is reported that that is what that particular person has to say, but we want to hear from young people themselves who have been affected. And I think we need to listen to them and see how best we can help them and assist them, because I believe parents have gotten very lax with their children. They're not as responsible as they should be. We're allowing the television or the internet or the phones to raise the children, and parents are not as close to their children as they ought to be. Now, my mother and father were professional people. My father, a professional engineer. My mother was a registered nurse at the Bahamas General Hospital at that time in 1943. That's when she graduated. And they always spent time with 12 children, 9 of their own and 3 grandchildren. And I always knew my father and my mother every day of my life, as young as I am right now. They were there every living day. And today we have children who don't know who the daddy is, who don't know who the mother is. So we have some very serious problems, Brother Johnson.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm going to let you continue from there.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity to be able to share. And we have come to the understanding after working with young people for 25 years myself personally, even before then, we've come to understand that young people are faced with lots of challenges. Mind you now, when we were young, we had, when I was a teenager myself, and when we were all teenagers, we had different issues that we were faced with. All of us were faced with developmental challenges, whether they were good or bad, doesn't matter. We all had developmental challenges because we had to come from teenagers and adolescents to become adults. So we had to pass through that process, that rite of passage to become adults. And so even if you look at all of the evidence as prescribed by different philosophers, Freud and Erickson and those guys who had their challenges as well.
Yes.
Young people are going to go through different developmental challenges, changes, puberty, and all of these necessary adjustments that have to be made as we become adults. However, a lot of our young people today are not handling the issues as they should. And it's not that they are weaker. It's not that they have less information. In fact, they have more information. If you look at the social media, the internet, all of the varying information sources that we have today, you would say that they are better equipped to handle these circumstances that they are faced with. However, and I wouldn't say solely because of social media, because there are many contributing factors to why our young people are faced with the challenges and the decisions that they are making. But social media plays a very important role in what's happening with our young people today.
Yes.
The reality of suicide and self-harm can be found widely on social media. So, and persons may say, well, what's the difference between suicidal tendencies and self-harm? There's a big difference.
Okay.
The suicidal tendencies or even suicide attempts are a little different. When a person wants to take their own life and they are thinking of ways and means by which to do this, it's a thought in their mind. That is what is called suicide tendencies.
Okay.
But when you make the attempt, when you decide, okay, I've made up my mind, I'm going to slit my wrist, and then they make that attempt to slit their wrist, that's now suicide attempt.
Yeah.
That means they are serious about committing suicide. They want to get out of this life. What's my cousin named Hepburn who sings the song "Stop the World and Let Me Off"?
Yeah.
I think they're reciting that they want to get off of this planet. They want to get out of this life that's filled with troubles and trials and tribulations. They want to end whatever is happening to them in a quick way, but in a decisive way, but in a wrong way.
Yeah.
Suicide is a permanent and not really a fix, but a permanent choice to correct a temporary problem. So, and you can't return from suicide. If you take your life, that's you. You
Yes.
cannot fix the problem, and suicide is not going to fix the problem. It is going to take your life. It's going
That's
to
right.
end your time on this earth.
Yeah.
You will have no opportunity to correct what is wrong. After you cut your wrist or take your life or whatever you decide to do, that's you. That's
Yes.
life over for you.
Yes.
No more breathing. No more fixing the situation. No more talking to family or friends. No more finding help
Yeah.
to get rid of the problem that exists. And it's a temporary problem. There's no problem on this earth that will last forever. If it's a problem, it will not last forever.
Yeah.
That too shall pass, and that's biblical. But when you talk about self-harm, it's a different level. We would say lower, but it's not so much lower. It's just not the same as suicide. So you have persons who are frustrated with different problems that they may face. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's difficulty with academics. Maybe it's bullying. Maybe it's separation of parents. And so they are hurting. They are going through a painstaking event, some traumatic situation that they cannot handle, that they cannot cope with. And so they take a small razor and they slit their arms from wrist to the crack in your elbow.
Yeah.
On both arms, maybe, or on the inner sections of your thighs, and they do about 7 or 8 slits. What happened is the pain of slitting your arm or your skin several times supposedly takes away the pain of the existing problem. And for that moment, you don't focus on it. It's a false sense of euphoria. It's a false sense of relief, because it's not relief at all. The problem still exists. You now have 7 or 8 marks on your arms or on your inner thighs that persons would say, oh, you are trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And so they send them for counseling. And when you ask them, what are you doing? Why you did that? I don't want to kill myself. I just want to get rid of the pain. Well, that's not the way to get rid of the pain. Again, it's a false sense of euphoria, false sense that everything is going to be all right for that brief moment. And then when the pain goes away, when the cuts heal, you still have the issue that has not been resolved. And so it's the lack of coping skills, the lack of problem-solving skills, the lack of self-expressional skills. There's a lack of parental guidance and parental involvement. is a lack of spiritual involvement, spiritual guidance, and all of these things are contributing to the way our young people are making decisions in this world, or even in our nation today. And again, you talk about relationships. We have 14 and 15 and 13 and 12 and 11-year-old girls involved in relationships that are sexually involved, not just boyfriend, girlfriend. These are romantic relationships where sex is involved. And to contribute more to that situation, we have parents who are cloaking it. Parents who are saying, you're 15, you're 14, you like my son. If your mommy don't agree with it, come live in my house. Parents are doing that. Not in a large amount, but we have some parents who are doing that. And I wouldn't go ahead and say in the inner city or on the outskirts or in the suburbs or in whatever community. It's happening in all communities where parents are making exceptions for young ladies or young men to even live in their homes. And this is, we have destroyed the moral fiber of our nation. We are involved in every sense of moral turpitude that we could be in. And I cannot figure for the life of me how we got to this point where we are not remembering that the preamble of our Constitution says we were founded on spiritual values, spiritual principles, spiritual standards. God is still in charge of the Bahamas. Why aren't we in church? I spoke to a young person today, and I said to that person, what do you want out of life? He says he don't know. 18, don't know what he wants out of life. What kind of work you want? I want a job that pays $500. What are you gonna do to make $500 a week? I don't know. Are you gonna be a police officer? No, I don't want that. You gonna be a defense officer? No, I don't want that. I said, where you want to work? I don't know. And his whole sense of being is zero, has no purpose, no plan, no reason for existing. But he works in the church. He's a sound technician in the church. I can't say, I could say what church it is, but I don't want to.
It's a church, nevertheless.
Yes, it's a church in the Bahamas, in Nassau.
That's right.
And I don't want to say what denomination either.
You don't have to.
I don't need to.
You just speak the issue itself.
Yeah, and so what is that church doing to help that young man find purpose?
Yes.
I can't say they're not doing anything. I know the pastor personally, and so I'm saying to myself, what's happening with this young man? What's happening in his home? And I had an opportunity to speak with his mother, and his mother is pushing him to the level where she doesn't want him to get involved in anything negative.
Yes.
She pleaded with me, please, Mr. Johnson, don't give up on my child. I don't want to see him go down the hill into an abyss of darkness. And so I said, okay, I'll give it one more shot. She is doing what she can as a mother, a single mother. She's doing what she ought to be doing as a parent. She is pushing him. She is bringing him for help. She's seeking help for him.
Good. Okay.
And so that's one exceptional parent that I have witnessed in the past 2 weeks. However, we have some parents who really, really don't put that kind of interest and concern in the child. And we see that these children are going downhill. We see that they are deteriorating. We see that they're making poor choices. But we see that same parent with nails on and weave in her hair and all of the fancy clothes and shoes and going partying while that child is hurting.
Yes.
And not getting the help, not getting the attention, not getting the concern from the parent that child is looking for. And we have many young ladies, many young men in our society that are looking for a parent, they're looking for love. They're looking for someone to say, I love you. I care about you. I want to see you do well. And they're not getting that. And so they go on the streets, they go wherever they can, and they find that from the most negative sources ever.
Yes.
And then we have destruction. We have a group of young people who are making poor decisions. And to the point where they want to hurt themselves, where they don't want to be around, they don't want to live any longer. We have sexual abuse. We have physical abuse. We have drug and alcohol use. We have abandonment. We have all of these contributing factors that help in the situation with our young people today. Too many of our young people are facing those challenges that they didn't expect to face.
Okay.
Since COVID has been introduced, well, not introduced, but since we had to go through the situation with COVID, pandemic. Sorry, when the pandemic came, a lot of our young people figured life was over. A lot of our young people wanted to take their lives. They couldn't understand what was going on. They thought that the world was ending. And at that time, we did not address it with young people. We didn't make it clear to them that this is just a temporary situation and that eventually it will go away. We did not do enough as a nation to help our young people understand that these are the things that the world will go through. When it talks about pestilences and disasters happening, we did not make them clear on that spiritual side of things. But we shut the country down. We shut everything down. Yeah. We stopped going to school. We snatched them away from their comfort zone, and we kept them inside. We kept them locked away because we knew it was the right thing to do. But we didn't address the young people who were suffering, who were unclear of what was happening. I'm not even gonna touch the adults. I'm gonna stick.
That's a different category.
Oh, that's a different. Yes, I'm not gonna touch that. Yes, I won't. Right. I'm tempted to, but I won't.
Okay.
But the young people at the time, when they got back to school, it's like they were let loose from a cage, where they're now allowed to be wild and do any and everything because they had missed it. Yes. And again, we didn't address it properly. We didn't realize how dangerous it was to just reopen and just say, all right, go back to school. We didn't talk to them. We didn't provide counseling for them. We did not understand their needs with so many things that we should have done.
Yes, sir.
And guess what? That feeling is still existing today.
Well, Brother Johnson, you said a whole lot, and I allowed you to do that. We're coming to our first break, and you said a whole lot. We're going to have to discuss those things, why it was allowed, and what is now being done, if anything is being done, to assist young people. Because a lady called in today, yesterday it was. She had one child, I think it's 9, 1 5, and 1, I think just a little baby. 3 boys, she says she has. And I told her every time when I see these people, I tell them I want them to get as young as I am. So she just laughed. And the thing is, there are so many young people, particularly the male children, and I want you to speak to this, Brother Johnson, that are simply disappearing. I personally don't like it. We look to the young people to be what we say are the future leaders of this country, but too many of them are disappearing off the scene. And we're going to have a big gap between those that are the elders and those that are at the bottom of the ladder. We have to fix that and try and help save our boys, particularly, and the girls as well. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Express Yourself. We're discussing adolescent problems with young people under the age of 20. And Bahamians, we have too many problems: alcohol, sexual abuse, drug addiction, all kind of funny things happening with young people. And some got some other things that are not good and proper. We have to speak to that as well. This is Professor Sidney McGarter, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. Express itself 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. But Bahamians, we have problems with our young people under the age of 20, so teenagers and even some a little older. But there are all kinds of problems that are afflicting them: drug addiction, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse. Some of them have some other funny things that are not proper. I'll just leave it like that. But the point is, Bahamians, we have too many things that are affecting young people. Why? Why is that happening today? And of course, Brother Johnson spoke about the fact that we had the lockdown from the COVID
The pandemic.
and the pandemic, as it was called. And it has greatly affected our young people. We're addressing young people today because from the report given by the Ministry of Health, it's a very, very serious report. Brother Heil, I don't know if you have a copy of that report in front of you. You
Yes,
do, yeah.
yes, I do.
And Brother Johnson, I want him to bring that into the discussion
Sure.
so you can get in on it and we can move from there. But Bahamians, we have too many problems for young people to bear by themselves and not get the kind of proper direction and guidance, as Brother Johnson said. Young people are looking for that. So some of us going to have to be substitute fathers and mothers.
Yes.
Because I wish every young person, I'll say this publicly, I wish every young person had a mother and father like I did. They were always there, as young as I am. They were always their mommy and daddy every day of my life. Never was without mommy, never was without daddy until they pass off the scene. And I know many young people that they don't have that kind of strong parental. See, my mother and father, 9 of us plus 3 grandchildren, 12 pigeons in the house. They shielded us from a whole lot of things that you young people are being affected today. And when I tell people, I don't know about some of these things that you're all talking about, they think, well, Professor, where you been? My mother and father shielded us from a lot of crap that was going on in this country. So a lot of it, we didn't even hear about it, didn't know about it. Wherever they sent you, that's where you were sent. Wherever they told you to go, that's where you were to go. What they told you to eat, that's what you eat. And you never got in big people company because they'll tell you that's not for you. But now some people say you should let the children get in and talk and that kind of thing. I could not say anything against a police officer or a school teacher or a senior person in the community because Daddy will say, your name would not have been called if you were not there. Mommy would say the same thing. And it was true. You were not there, your name would have not been called. And we have some serious problems today. Of course, some things have changed. We're going to get to that. But the point is that we need strong parenting. And I miss my mother and father for that strong parenting. I wish they were still here. And if they were to come from the dead right now, I can go and live with them. But this is the thing that we are having, and too many young people are without parents. And payments, we got to find a way how to help these young people who have these problems. Brother Highland, go ahead, please.
Yes, good day, Bahamas. And Brother Johnson, when this report came out, I didn't know what to do with myself. But it is really sobering, it's shocking, and it's a call to action. So last week, we were talking about a report that came out of the Ministry of Health, and it's called the Global School Health Survey or Global School Health Report. And, you know, among other things, like you all were saying, it spoke to a rise in suicide attempts,
Yes.
A rise in alcohol consumption, a rise in marijuana use, sexual, what we would call deviant behavior has increased. And, you know, for you being an adolescent health, you know, adolescents, of course, referring to young adults, was the question is, was this any surprise to you? I don't see where it was.
No.
Was this a surprise to you?
Not for my involvement in the society or in the community. As a counselor, no, it wasn't a surprise, but it was disheartening.
Yes.
Okay.
To hear, you know, the increases. But of course, it was something that we are privy to.
Yes.
But we always hope and pray that there would be some changes in our efforts as a ministry or even as an agency to help young people to make wiser choices, to do things differently. You know, so it was not a surprise, but it was disappointing.
All right. So once again, you work with the Adolescent Health Department in the Ministry of Health. So you on the front lines of this matter.
Yes.
So when matters like this, let's go on a case-by-case basis. When teens, young adults in school are troubled or found to be using what they should not be using, or their life has been disrupted in some form or fashion, so they would pretty much be directed to your department.
In most cases, yes.
Cases.
Yeah, in most cases.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So once again, the report is saying, I'll read some of the report as we continue.
But let me just clarify.
Let
me just clarify, because we have several agencies within the government that work with young people. Right?
Okay.
The Adolescent Center is just one agency. You have the Adolescent Unit, which is attached to SRC, Sandwich Rehabilitation Center. You have the Community Counseling and Assessment Center that is also attached to SRC or
the Sandwich Rehabilitation
Public Hospital Authority.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you have the Crisis Center that's attached to Social Services.
Okay.
And you also have the Department of Rehabilitative Welfare Services, which is also in the Department of Social Services. And then, of course, you have the guidance counselors in the Ministry of Education.
Yes.
You have the You have various clinics, private clinics,
Yes.
that can also work with young people
Okay.
for whatever reason there may be. And so it's not just one agency, but there are
Mhm. Many agencies.
many agencies that are helping with the behavioral challenges
Mhm.
that we are faced with. You also have
Okay.
the Bahamas National Drug Council,
Mhm.
which can also assist with young people who are involved with marijuana use or other
Mhm.
drug users.
Okay.
And so all of these agencies work together in tandem with the Ministry of Education, with social services, and then you also have the court. You have the juvenile court system.
Yes.
Okay.
All of these agencies together work. And again, I don't want to sound the horn of gloom and doom.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. That's good.
I don't want to make it seem as if every child in the Bahamas
Mhm.
is downhill. No,
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I wouldn't say.
Okay.
I wouldn't even say 50%, but
Okay.
it's a large number of young people,
Too many.
a goodly number of young people
Mhm.
that are involved in this undesirable behavior,
Behavior.
Yeah.
and could be corrected. Okay.
You know, there's one particular statistic that you're reminding me of, or that came to mind. Brother Johnson, somewhere between 60 to 70% of youth know where to go to get help,
Yes,
but they don't go.
they don't go.
The majority do not go.
Because again, here's and I wouldn't say I have all of the answers to all of the questions.
Yes,
I don't know
okay.
everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good start. We'll be glad to hear that, because sometimes
Well,
on
at
the
least
show,
he's admitting that.
yes,
No. I
Yes.
don't know.
Yeah.
I am definitely not Jehovah. I can't even match up to be
No,
Jehovah.
definitely
Okay.
not.
And he's
Definitely
the only
not.
person I know that knows everything.
Oh, he knows
Oh,
everything.
He's,
yeah.
he's omniscient.
okay.
I am not even omni.
But he allows for freedom of choice.
Yes.
Yes.
Even
yeah.
after you're converted, I've been converted more than 54 years,
Uh-huh.
and he will never compel you
No.
Uh-huh.
to do anything. You
anything,
have to
no.
willingly
You have to
decide
willingly, yeah.
you
And
want
that
to obey.
is
That's the decision.
that is the point that I was about to make.
Okay.
It is incumbent upon the young people
Mhm.
to want
Yes.
Okay.
to get the help.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
A lot of our young people don't even believe they have a problem.
That's even worse.
All right.
That's worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
worse.
You have
yeah.
people who know they have a problem
Mhm.
and do something about it.
Right.
You have people who don't know that they have a problem
Okay.
and do nothing
And do
about it.
nothing about it.
You have people who know they have a problem
Uh-huh.
and don't do anything about
All
it.
right.
That's
thing-
the worst category of people
No,
right there.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, because carnal nature is such where we don't want to admit when we're wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. And that is a major problem in our society.
In a society.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
One of the first things to correct a
Mhm.
problem is to admit.
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 Admit it,
You know,
yeah.
when I
Mhm.
became blind, a lot of people say, "Man, stop saying that you're blind." Well, then how I can get help?
Exactly.
Didn't the blind man say, "Lord Jesus, help me!
Help me."
I'm blind."
Yeah. And that's what you have to do.
Okay.
The
You have to
man say,
acknowledge.
ask and you will receive.
That's right.
Okay.
If
That's what
you
he
don't
said.
admit that you're blind, then how you gonna
How
get
you
the
get
help?
help? You won't get any
Yeah.
help.
You'll never
Yeah.
get the help because you don't believe that you are blind yourself.
Exactly.
And so, if you don't admit that you have an issue, and when I sit with young people, I say, "Do you think you have a problem?" No. Okay. All right. No problem. Then I start counting. What about this? 1. What about that? 2. What about this? 3. They say, "Mr. Johnson, I didn't know I had that much problem."
Wow, that's
Yeah,
an important
yeah.
exercise.
Yes.
Yeah.
To bring people to reality.
No, but
that's
you
the
have
first thing
to.
you do. You
Yeah,
have to bring them.
Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
not that we pick things out.
Mhm.
No.
Simply,
Mhm.
the guy this morning I was talking to, he said he don't know what he wants. I said, okay, so you want to be a janitor? No. I said, but you just said what you don't want.
Right.
So if you know what you don't want, you must know what
What
you
you
want.
want.
Okay. All right.
By reason of what? By reason of what you call it?
Mhm.
What do we call it?
do
Anyway,
you call it?
it'll come back to my mind.
Okay.
It'll come back.
Okay.
I was
It'll
thinking
come
of it too, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
let me read
Go ahead.
read
Go ahead.
some of the report that basically shook the Bahamas last week.
Mhm.
Friday, 1 in 5 teens has attempted suicide.
1 in 5.
1 in 5.
That's 20%.
That's 20%.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
deep.
so if you're talking about a class of 25, that's 5 in that class.
5 in that class.
That's too many.
Now, a lot of classes are a little larger, so you're talking about 30 students. So you're talking about 6 or 7 individuals in one classroom. That's very serious.
But Mr. Hyla, let me say this, and of course, Professor Thompson,
Mhm.
I'm not going to disagree with the report,
Mhm.
but let me first of all, let me say this.
Mhm.
I need to see the survey,
Yeah.
and I need to know the empirical evidence
Mhm.
that was gathered to give such a statistic.
Yeah.
Not that I disagree,
Right.
and I'm
You need
not
to
saying
see.
it's not true.
Mhm.
Yes, because Brother Johnson, someone else who is very prominent in society, has some misgivings about the report.
Yeah, I
All
gotta
right.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can understand
Yeah.
where this particular personality is coming from.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, we have to look carefully
Mhm.
at these things and making assessments
Right.
and coming to
Right.
a
Yeah.
sound decision.
Right.
Mhm.
Because we don't want to be caught later on, say we have made a big mistake
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
and the people get carried away.
But if this is true, if that is true, and I'm not discriminating or I'm not discrediting the report in any way, form, or fashion.
Yes.
All right. And I'm a man that's just as young as any other young person.
Yeah.
You're not as young as I am.
I was going to say young as professor, but I changed it because I'm not sure how young he is.
I'm beginning to think he's the youngest of us all.
But
I think you got a point.
when I listen to that, one out of
One out
every
of
five.
every 5, yes.
All right. So it's 4 of us in here.
Yeah.
Let's just and one more person was coming there.
Yeah.
Which one of us tried a suicide?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
it's a valid
therein
point.
and therein lies the shift. There's a great shift between older persons
Mhm.
because the statistics would have been far different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say 50 years ago.
Of course.
And as a matter of fact, they're saying over the last 25
Yes.
years in particular,
Mhm.
right? They're saying suicidal thoughts have more than tripled.
I would say the thoughts. I
Yeah,
could listen to
the thoughts.
the thoughts.
The thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. And self-harm has nearly tripled.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. And loneliness has more than doubled among Bahamian teens over the past 25 years.
Yeah.
So this is where they started out. And of course, this is the Global School Health Report
Mhm.
Yeah.
or survey, depending on
Right.
where you go.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
survey.
It's a survey, right?
And we're talking about 35 schools on 8 islands
Yes.
Right.
were a part of this study.
The study.
And they got responses from over 2,000 students.
Yes.
So again, they're saying that drug use, there's a rise in drug use,
Yeah.
obesity,
Mhm.
so overweightness it has increased,
Yes.
and drinking
Oh, yeah.
has increased
Yes.
significantly
Significantly.
Mm.
over the past 25 years.
Yes. Yes.
They're saying the rate of teenage sexual activity
Has increased.
now, and then they're saying with far fewer young people, there is a slight shift in this particular area, Brother Johnson, where they're saying the sexual activity has begun to drop depending on, I guess, maybe the older ones.
Mhm.
Maybe we're talking about 17 years old, right at there. But we have a problem with you basically early 13, 14, 15.
Yes, that is correct. That's part of the
Experimental
Yes. Yeah.
sexual activity.
Yes.
And then they're saying that compared with previous generations.
Yes.
So here it is now. This report has been going on. We have on record 3 years, but it's very similar results, Brother Jay.
Mhm.
So we shocked today, but I'm afraid that we're going to go back to sleep in the next couple of months
Yeah.
because a similar report came out 1 year ago, and a very similar report came out 2 years ago.
Mhm.
So what are we doing? What has changed? What in terms of, from your perspective, Brother Jay, what practical changes or shifts have taken place? I don't know if that's a fair question, but have you seen a significant shift or new strategies employed to address the problem?
Well, from a national perspective,
Mm.
let me say this, and again, I'm not punching anybody in the face or
Mm.
any low blow to anybody. Um, I cannot say that we would have done everything
Okay.
in our power to make positive change to come in our country. I can't say that
Okay.
we have done as much as we should.
Understood.
I think we can do a whole lot more.
More. Okay.
Okay.
And I think more emphasis need to be placed on this report so that everyone can understand where we're headed as a country.
Very
Yes.
serious.
You know what I'm saying? I think we should know more
Mhm.
about this report, and more persons should be involved in it to bring about positive change. We cannot experience positive change if everyone is not aware
Yes.
of what's going on with our young people. A lot of people sweep it under the rug.
Right.
Yes, that is true.
Right.
A lot of people take time to get involved in so many other things,
That
Right.
is true.
and not the thing that makes the most difference.
Exactly.
I heard a remark by the Prime Minister, with all due respect, said that they are going to listen and they're going to do things that the Bahamian people are talking about.
Okay.
Well, this is something that is major.
Yes.
This is a major
Definitely.
concern,
Very much so.
because if
Definitely.
our young people, if we don't have a positive group of young people, and mind you, there are some people who are affluent
Mhm.
young people. We have a
Mhm.
lot of good affluent young people, a lot of them,
Mhm.
a whole slate of them.
Yes. Sir.
The youth in parliament. We have a lot of young people who are doing great things.
Yes.
4-point average students, 3.7 average students, 3.9. We have a whole dray load of young people that are making positive change. I was at the graduation ceremony for Catherine School International Academy
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago. One young lady has already been afforded over $1 million worth of scholarships
That's
to
wonderful.
go abroad.
Wow.
Yes.
$1 million worth of scholarship. And that's only one person. There are many who are doing great things in our society. I can't even begin to mention all of them.
And
Go ahead, sorry.
yeah, Brother Johnson, I'm glad you're saying that, because this needs to be highlighted.
Mhm.
The positive things that are happening for
Mhm.
young people in the country.
Yeah.
We hear about the negatives
Yeah.
Right.
of the few
Mhm.
who are wreaking havoc on society. And of course, they always will tell there's only a few, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But those who are making those positive contributions, young people in this country, need to be highlighted
Yes,
more,
they need to be.
so that we can see that side of the coin
Yes.
and be able to
balance the scale.
Balance the scale,
You
yes.
have to be able to
because,
balance the scale.
you know, we need to have a future for our country.
Yes, we do.
We have to help the young people to move along so that they can have what we leave as the older generation, and they can improve on what has been left behind.
Yes.
We don't want to see a deterioration
Mm-mm.
in that. So you come after us. Isaac came after Abraham.
Mhm.
And what he did was improve on what Abraham did. So the thing is that young people ought to improve on what their elders leave
Right.
and keep on building the society so we can have better and better things as we move along.
Mhm.
But what we have seen is a deterioration,
Mhm.
and we're not, it would appear to me, let me put it this way, it would appear to me as if we're not putting the kind of emphasis, not enough
Not
emphasis
enough. Right.
to correct the problems
Yes.
that afflict us, so as to stem it and then move on to bigger and better things.
Financially, we need to support
Yes, we do.
the work for young people.
Yes,
The agencies that are working for young people, we need a collaborative effort,
yes.
and we need the funding
They
behind
need
it.
the funding. Yeah, the funding.
We
is
need
important.
to have more conferences, more seminars, more issue, more what you call town hall meetings.
Town hall meeting.
Town
Yeah,
hall
you're right.
meetings
You're quite right.
where we hear from young people, hear their concerns, hear
Yes.
their interests.
Yes.
Yeah, we have the affluent, I applaud them. But what about the non-affluent? What
That's
about
true.
the ones who are under 2-point average, who are
Yes.
struggling?
Struggling.
How
Yeah.
do we help when we have less than 50% of our men in schools graduating, young men? When we have less than 50% graduating, what
Yes.
do we do? How do we curb
How do
that?
we curb
How do
that?
we correct that? We say that the young men are dying on the streets. What are we doing to change that?
Change that. Yes. That's
What
a
are we
good
doing
question.
to fix that?
Yes.
Okay,
That one needs fixing.
Oh, that one needs fixing.
Yes, you're right.
And the spin-off from that, I know, Professor Thompson, you said a lot of things that are going on that we don't want to talk about. We don't like
That
to
is
talk
true.
about it.
Yes.
Why don't we? Let's start talking about the relationships that are unnatural
Yes.
in our society. Too
That
much
is
of it.
correct. Too much of it. Yes.
And then they say, all the young men dying, so we ain't got no more young men. So what's going to happen with the young ladies?
Exactly.
If all of the young men die,
Right.
then is it proper for the young ladies to start seeing each other? No.
No, it
It's
can't
not.
be that way.
It is not. It's not right.
No, it's not.
It is not right. And everything on television that comes on, whether it's Netflix, whether it's the network, whether it's the movies, you can't miss the homosexual connotations that are involved.
That is correct.
You can't miss it. If you miss it, you're blind. You're wasting me.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you.
And
that-
that's being pushed.
Yes,
that is
it's
a
being
trend
pushed.
that is being
Yeah.
pushed
Yeah.
by those who of that particular agenda.
Yeah.
And I believe that those of the godly persuasion, I don't think we're putting enough emphasis in being able to strengthen our young people
No.
that they can fight this wickedness
Yes.
that is in the society.
There's too much of it.
You see,
It's too
and
much of it.
we are a little too lax when it comes
When it
to
comes
that.
to
See, the
that.
protection of our children is very important.
The protection of the family, Professor, because who two same-sex couples can actually procreate naturally?
No, they can't.
None. No, it's not going to happen. So what happens when the family dies out? When you have two fathers or two mothers in a family, what happens then? What happens? Where are the children going to come from?
That is true.
Where are the children going to come from? And we don't want to talk about it because, you're discriminating against, and God loves the sinner man. God loves the sinner man, but not the sin.
That's right.
All right.
We got to stop the sin.
I think they need to understand God takes a severe view of that kind of a lifestyle. And the penalty for that kind of lifestyle is very strong.
And we wonder where all of this is coming from.
Yeah.
Where all of our negativities are coming from. Where is it coming from? Because of our choices.
Yeah,
Because of
bad
our
choices.
lackadaisical behavior. Because we accept what we shouldn't accept. When good men say nothing, evil
Evil
men will
produces.
thrive.
Yes, it thrives. It thrives all the time. See, we didn't say nothing about fornication. We allowed it to get completely out of hand. So the enemy say, okay, I can put something else on.
Yeah.
And it just keep encroaching, and they are not going to stop unless you stop them. But we can stop them because we can change. God says you need to repent
Yes.
of your wicked ways. See, some people don't believe they have wicked ways. Even God's people have wicked ways.
That's right.
It may not be out in the open like how it is with some things that happen, but God looks at it and he says it's wicked. And we need to face that. And as long as we feel that no one sees it or no one knows about it, but someone knows about it because you would have told someone or someone would have seen it or known it and understood it, and it's going to get out one way or the other. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. My special guest, Tyrone Johnson from the Adolescent Health Center with the Ministry of Health. We are pleased to have him on today. We're talking about the adolescent problems that affect these young people in the country. And Bahamians, we have to work to save our young people. We cannot allow all. There are just too many problems. When you look at this report, too many negative things that are happening to young people. We have to find a way to close the gap. This is Professor Sidney Magada, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Whether you're shopping for Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, or any occasion for that matter, you are sure to find exactly what you're looking for at the Brass and Leather Shops. Great products like handbags, wallets, backpacks, luggage, belts, shoes, and more are awaiting you. Brand names at the best quality and reasonable prices. Land, Rioni, Kipling, Guess, Travel Light, Herschel, and more. Shop any of our locations. Downtown Charlotte Street, Mall at Marathon, and also the luggage store at Palmdale. Be sure to shop Brass and Leather Shops. You'll be glad you did.
Bohemian shoppers know when times are hard and things are tough, it's more sensible and convenient to shop at Wildcats Factory.
Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Magada, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Express yourself. Bahamians, it's important that you listen to the show and express your views. We want to hear from you. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272-813-0271. And of course, you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, and the radio station itself. Bahamians, we have a number of problems that afflict young people. We cannot afford to lose many young people. In fact, we've had some violence last night and also this morning where there have been serious injuries and death. And this is a problem. We have so many domestic problems which cause people to do some things that are not the best. And Bahamians, we just cannot keep living like that. We are nearing 52 years, and this is the kind of way we're going to end 52 years as an independent nation. There are some things that we have to correct, Bahamians, as we move into year 53. Hopefully, we won't have this kind of thing going on unless we make the necessary changes that are essential to move the country forward. We just can't keep going on fighting one another, hating one another, destroying one another, and expect for the country to be better off. It's not going to happen that way. We have to learn to agree to disagree. We have to learn different points of view. In fact, as a host of this show, you have to listen, because someone asked me about it yesterday. I said, you have to listen to different views, that you hear people, you facilitate those views. when a person calls on to say, Professor, this is my opinion. But then I don't have anything to say about that. Once you finish, that's it. Now, if you purport something to be what I know is not what it ought to be, then that's a different kettle of fish altogether. But people have a right to express their views. The Constitution specifically says freedom to impart. And I think a lot of us are not taking advantage of this part of the Constitution. Freedom to impart ideas and opinions without interference. It didn't say it have to be correct. It didn't say you have to agree with that particular person. It don't even have to be constitutionally sound. But do not pretend to try to make it as if it is, because that's when I have a difference with you. Brother Hyler, go ahead.
Yeah, once again, our guest today is Mr. Tyrone Johnson from the Adolescent Health Center, who's been on the forefront of dealing with youth and adolescent issues, young adult issues, school-age children, over 25 years. So
That's a long
we're
time.
pleased to have his experience here today
Yes.
in light of a growing problem that places his organization, along with others, like he said, there are multiple government agencies
Yeah.
assigned and dedicated to addressing youth issues. So we're dealing with a national report that was released at the end of last week on Friday, called the Global School Health Survey. And it surveyed over 2,200 school-age children, 90 classrooms, and we're talking about 13 to 18-year-old young people, children.
Yes.
Among the problems brought forward, alcohol use, poor dietary behavior.
Let me just comment on the alcohol use, because they are saying to me, and I don't know, Brother Johnson might have something to say on this as well.
Mhm.
They're not being asked their age when they go into these stores
Right. Not being asked for identification.
for identification, and that is a
Yes.
major problem, because alcohol should not go to minors. And so we have to really tighten up on that, because alcohol is very fluid in the black belt areas.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
And, as young as I am, you ain't gonna get me.
Mhm.
I used to drink Methuselah and Coke some years
What?
ago.
No, Professor.
That's correct.
What?
All of a sudden, and you know, I have the Methuselah right there in the cupboard, been sitting there for years. My sister told me to throw it away, but I told her I just got off it, and I would not even touch that. I just stopped. I don't know why I stopped.
Well,
But
you
I just
stopping
stopped.
and these young people
I
starting.
stopped just like
They
that.
just starting. You got you.
As young as I am, I just stopped.
What?
The thing with the alcohol use,
Mhm.
and here's my contention with this. We have christening parties for children who are 3 months old,
Mhm.
Yes, they do.
up to a year old,
Mhm.
right? And you have 20, 30 adults consuming alcohol to celebrate the christening of the child,
Yes.
which is unnecessary in my mind. Totally unnecessary. Because that child, you don't sell it. You just gave that child back to God, and then you're gonna come home to drink and party and get intoxicated.
Yes.
That's ironic.
It
It
is.
is. It is.
But they do it all. We do it all the time.
Yes, it is true.
Well,
And then we have gender. What do you call it? Gender. What is it? What do they call
is
it?
it gender equality
No,
or?
no.
Oh, gender reveal.
Yeah.
The gender reveal.
Gender reveal. Party.
Yes.
But say it
Yeah.
again, wait a minute, hold on.
It's
I
a
didn't
big
get
thing.
that. What is
When,
that?
Gender-
when a mother is pregnant and she finds out the sex of the child,
Oh, okay.
then they have a party to say she's revealing to everybody the gender of that child. It's
Oh,
male or
okay.
female.
Male or
Yeah.
female.
So
Okay.
you'd see the blue smoke. Now that's mixed up now because Brother J laughing because you know Brother J, you something else because you know just very good.
About this. That's the first time I'm hearing about
We can
this.
start seeing gender reveal parties where the pink smoke come out. And when the pink smoke come out, they say, "Hey, it's a boy."
It's non-binary.
It's non-binary. because traditionally it's been blue for boy, pink for girl.
Right.
Yeah.
But they trying to mix this thing up, Professor. Switch it the other way around.
Yeah, it is.
So
There's no
we
limitation
laughing,
on
but
it.
it's a very
It's
No, it's a very
serious
serious
matter.
matter.
and then they
Yeah.
party, and so
Yeah.
you're drinking before the child is born,
Even born,
Mhm.
yes.
and then you have everybody involved in drinking, and then
Yeah.
you have alcohol around the house,
Yes.
and you have a teenage child going to school
Right.
with a thermos filled with
You-
absolute and cranberry.
You need to say that again. Nah. You talking about the seventh graders?
Yeah,
The seventh graders.
sixth graders,
Sixth graders
That's
too.
what he's saying, yeah.
Sixth graders
primary school children.
have the rum
Yes.
in the thermos.
Yes, sir. And getting intoxicated in the school.
No,
In the
that's not
school.
good.
So you have
Not good at all.
situations with drunk students. You're getting called
Yeah.
to deal with drunk students.
And these are the younger
Okay.
ones now.
These are the
Right,
younger
primary
ones.
school.
Primary schools
school
now.
children.
I'm saying
And I was
that is
informed of
that is an issue that is perpetrated by the availability
Mhm.
Of
of
The
alcohol.
easy availability.
yes in the
And,
home.
So one of the
Wow.
statistics that came out said that it is easy to very easy to obtain alcohol.
That's
yes.
And when
that's
it comes
true,
to
yeah.
drugs, it was said that it's easy
Mhm.
to obtain drugs
Yeah.
like cocaine or marijuana
Marijuana, yeah.
for a primary school student.
Yeah.
Yeah, any age pretty much.
Yeah, any age pretty
So
much.
well, if the alcohol, Brother J, if the liquor store ain't asking for ID, what about the weed man? What about that?
He asked us for
You think he asking for
No,
ID?
he asked us for that. He just want to make a
You
sale.
want people to sell for
Tomorrow.
He wants his cell phone,
Wow.
yeah.
He's asking the primary school and the junior high school children
Wow.
to sell
We in trouble.
for him in the schools.
So the drug dealer is now asking the primary school students to sell
He's
to other
looking for
students.
customers.
Okay.
He's looking
So
for customers.
out of this report, we are learning that an average of 34% of the students drank alcohol.
Mhm.
34% of students are drinking alcohol, Professor,
yeah, that's
and 27% drink to get drunk. 27%. So basically, 1 out of 4 of our school-age children get drunk. Like this report asks about 30 days prior to answering this question.
Right, right.
yeah.
So in the last 30 days, did you get drunk?
Mhm.
And 1 out of 4
1 out of 4
said yes,
said yes.
they was drunk over the
That is-
last month.
That is high.
Yeah, that is
too
high. That is high. That is very
And the girls are out drinking the boys.
Mhm. And again, because of the many
Yeah,
domestic situations,
yeah,
Yeah.
and stress.
yeah,
Yeah.
and stress, the
Mm.
sexual abuse in the home, all these other little issues
Yeah.
contribute to the use of alcohol.
Okay.
When they don't self harm, then they
Mhm.
drink or use some other kind of drug to
Wow.
calm themselves to get over the pain, get over the hurdle.
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about 13 to 17-year-olds. Now, just to frame this report, I didn't set up the framework earlier, so I'll do it now. 8 focus areas that this report covered. But Jay, we'll go back and we'll go down into this later.
Mm.
It dealt with academic performance. That's focus area 1, academic performance. Focus area 2, chronic disease risk. Focus area number 3, sexual behavior. Focus area number 4, substance use or drug use.
Mhm.
Focus area number 5, injury and violence, their activity related to that. Focus area number 6, mental health and suicide. Focus area number 7, support structures. That's the interesting one
That's
to look at.
interesting,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is
Yeah.
their support like? And focus area number 8, final area, parental monitoring and involvement.
Wow.
They have questions
Yeah.
on that as well.
Okay.
So dealing with the alcohol or substance use. So now we're talking about drug use at an early age also.
Too young. Yeah.
Drug use. 6th graders
Mhm.
being found with drugs on their person. And what's so very interesting, you could shed some light on this, Brother J. The schools are pretty, let me not frame it, but what happens if you have a 6th or 7th grader that's found with marijuana? Do they charge them or they send them for counseling? Do they give them just a warning?
In most cases, because you don't want to destroy the future of a child, if that goes on his record, that child will never be able to go to the States until that record is expunged.
Now hold on. Now hold on. I gotta pause you right there, Brother J. You see, Brother J, let's look at how serious this is, Brother J. At the primary school level, the children may end up on a stop list.
Yes, they will.
And cannot travel outside the country
No.
based on these behavior and these decisions.
Based on your involvement with drugs. You
Wow.
cannot travel to the United States or anywhere.
Wow.
Once you have, well, I wouldn't say anywhere,
Yeah.
but you cannot travel to the States if your record says that you are using, or if you had some possession of drugs, or you were charged with drug use or drug possession. They will not let you travel to the United States.
Wow.
And so they normally would send them for counseling. They would talk to the child. They would put them through a rigorous readjustment kind of thing, mindset situation, and then let them go for counseling and give them an opportunity to straighten up.
Okay.
It's not just, but I mean, marijuana is most prevalent. You don't see the existence of young people using cocaine like that. Okay, because of course, because of the apparent, what should I call it, decrepit behavior or decrepit ways that drug users present.
Okay.
I'm trying not to say the word.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But we call them on the streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of that, and the children tease you. They tease you as to say, well, you are that word with the J.
Yes.
That's what you are. And so they don't want to be called that. So they stay away from the cocaine because that's what happens when you use cocaine.
Okay.
But you have the vaping.
Okay.
Which is prevalent.
All right.
The report says 13 to 17. We
Okay.
can go a little younger than that. And the reality is you have children 12, 11, 10 who are vaping already.
Wow. So looking at some numbers now, Brother J, with the illicit drugs, we're talking about 12%, 10 to 12% are experimenting or using illicit drugs, marijuana. 12% of the boys and 8% of the girls. And this is over their lifetime at any point if they've used it. And they reported half of them cited the age 13 is when they started. Half of those that are using illicit drugs start at age 13.
And illicit drugs, simply those that don't have a prescription or a way to use it.
Okay.
They come without a prescription.
Without a prescription.
Right. So
Okay.
Illicit drug is a drug that the doctor tells you how to use it and what to use it for.
Okay.
So you will also have illicit drug as perp. Perp is an illicit drug.
Right.
But you can use illicit medication to make it.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You can
use over-the-counter medication
to make it.
To make something that is illicit.
Right.
Okay, all right. So once again, we're talking about 21% admitting to having used drugs at some point in their life. That's 1 out of 5, Brother J.
Yeah. That's again. Did they say exactly what drug it was?
They didn't say. Now, a little further down, marijuana use is 16%. 16%. And 10% basically say they are regular users. So the 16% is you tried it before. But 10% continuously use it.
Right.
That's very significant.
Yeah, it is. It is very much so.
That's very
And,
significant.
and it's something that we should be concerned about.
Yeah.
Even as a government,
Right.
some things that we need to begin looking at
Right.
as to how we're going to curb this
Yes.
apparent
Yeah.
addiction to drugs or marijuana.
That's serious. And again, 8% of the girls, you know, that's high. 8% of the girls that were asked if they ever used like marijuana, you know, 8% of the girls say yes, they tried it
Mhm.
or something like that. That's a lot. That's high.
It's a lot, and even though the numbers are small, and mind you, they could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been a whole lot worse. When you talk about the edibles, when you talk about the candies.
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
We have persons. We had a person in a church
Mhm.
in a youth meeting who were found using or eating the candies at a youth meeting.
Okay.
They brought
Okay.
them to the youth meeting in the church, and they were eating the edibles. And the only way they knew
Yeah.
that they were using them is when one of the young ladies passed out.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
And so again, these things are prevalent, but yeah, they're prevalent.
So the candies and different edibles, wow,
Being
are being experimented with.
Yeah.
So by you saying that, boy, the devil really wicked, you know. So,
You don't have to smoke it anymore.
so the thing about it is, even when they say they experiment with the marijuana, it didn't have to be the way we thinking.
No.
Like you smoking, and that's what bring the numbers up higher. Because you at a party, somebody just have something in their pocket, and they laughing, having a good time, so to speak. You say, what's wrong with you? Say, boy, I tried some of this thing or whatever, and you share it or whatnot. Say, man, you boring, man. You know, you boring. You're in with the times, man. You go sit down. You know.
Yeah.
So peer pressure. So a lot of young people. I didn't see this in the survey, but young people really are most actively introducing other young people to drug use.
Yeah.
Once one get in, that's another many that they're influencing.
And they can purchase it online. They can use cards to purchase it. You can buy these stuff online. And you don't have to go to the drug dealer. The candies come to you.
Wow.
The brownies or the edible cakes or candies or whatever they have, they come to you. And you don't have to go out looking for it. It can come right to you.
That's amazing. So that's with the marijuana, edibles and other use. So, and then going back to, just for those, in case there's anybody just tuning in, we're dealing with adolescent, youth, teenagers, and what they're experimenting with, according to this report. Back to alcohol, 73% of our teens, 13 to 17, have tried alcohol at least once. 73%. 33% are active drinkers. That is outrageous. Outrageous.
In that age
Regular.
grouping.
In that age group,
17.
13 to 17, active, regular drinkers. 33%. 35% girls. The girls are out drinking the boys. Higher rates of drinking among the girls. This is crazy. And some are drinking to get drunk. Right in this report.
Yes, the report says that, yeah.
And I'm looking at two different reports now. One is from 2023, one is from 2025. And the reason why I have both is because they're different categories. I'm able to see now that I'm live on the air. So I'm referring to it as quickly as I can. Getting drunk. 1 out of 4.
That's correct.
1 out of 4 of our teens drink and have gotten drunk in their lifetime. Once or more times have been drunk. 1 out of 4 of our teens. Now we also have mental health. Mental health, in terms of those who have attempted suicide within the last 12 months, they're saying the boys 15%, but the girls 34%.
Wow, double.
Double the rate among girls. and the phenomenon known as cutting. We do have a call. Let's take the call first,
Okay,
Professor,
calling
and then
you
I was just
live
about to
on
get
air. Go
into.
ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor,
Yes, sir. How are you?
and good afternoon to your guests, and,
Yes, sir.
and
Hey.
good afternoon to your two guests.
Hey, good
Hey.
day.
Professor, you know what we got really got to do? We got to lose some, right? But Professor, we got to go back to the old school, teach the young set 3 skills of making money and learning them how to swim. Professor, I going back to that. We can lose a lot of, we can lose some people because we too far gone. But I believe if we go back to that system, we'll be better off. And Mike Tyson said this in one old video. They had him in prison and someone interviewed him. He said, listen here, when these young people in this other country come out of school, they be like, playoffs. I want that one. I want this one for the company. Why is we got a trend joining gangs, smoking? I just wonder who really in charge of the things, man. I know they got some good things going on, but Professor, we got let some people fall and go back to grabbing these young children, throwing them in the sea, learning them how to swim, and 3 trades of making money. And if these crimes don't stop, I can eat my own heart. Professor, y'all have a blessed day and keep on the good conversation in the good way.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead, brother.
So we were just about to ask about cutting.
Yeah,
What
cutting,
is this thing cutting all about, Brother Jay?
Well, like I said, it's self-harm. They call it
Self-harm. Yeah.
it's called self-harm. Again, it's a way to relieve yourself of existing pain or frustration, maybe stress, whatever it is that you're coping with or trying to cope with that you're not coping with. And so coping, it eliminates the pain for a period of time. So you're causing pain to eliminate pain. And so you take a small razor and you slit the inside of your arm from the wrist, just slits all the way up.
Multiple going
on
up
both sides and on your inner thighs or wherever.
Wow.
You could be, and those, you can detect those persons who may be self-harming to the point where they are over frustrated, where they're overwhelmed. If you see someone wearing a jacket 24/7, check the arms of that young person.
Okay.
Because they hide the fact that they're cutting. They don't want people to know that they're cutting. And a lot of our young people have come across the guidance counselors and the school teachers who have been cutting, and so they send them for counseling right away. Sometimes it is beyond our help. And so we have to send them to another agency for more psychiatric care. And another thing that goes along with self-harm is anxiety, extreme anxiety, anxiety attacks, panic attacks.
Okay.
And those are things that they're coping with or trying to deal with and are not equipped to do so.
Okay. If any of the young people have, let's say, fallen through the cracks or not received help, Brother Johnson, how could a parent reach out for help, let's say to the Adolescent Health Center? What should they do if they suspect that their child is involved with this behavior, or they simply don't know what to do?
Well, the first thing is to know where to go for help. Again, I mentioned all of the agencies, depending on the circumstances that you're dealing with, whatever the issue might be. If it's an issue of behavior, sexual behavior, drug use, or whatever it might be, you can contact the Adolescent Health Center. If you don't know the number, it's right in the phone book, Adolescent Health Center. You can call and you can make an appointment to come in. We have 2 counselors, myself and a female counselor, who can help with the issues that you may be facing with. If again, it is beyond our professionalism, we can refer you to another agency where you can get much more care and attention. If it is something specific to drugs, then we send you to an agency that deals with drug use to the point where it's secondary or tertiary level prevention.
Okay. All right. Well, I found the statistic, which is 61.3% of teens said they know how to access professional mental health support,
Very good.
but only 23% said they had someone that they trust to talk about their personal problems. So that's another
And that's
dynamic
another
there.
That's the
dynamic.
dynamic.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
they don't trust everyone.
okay.
And again,
Okay.
it's because of all of the maybe previous situations
Okay.
of abuse or whatever.
Yes.
And they don't trust people
Okay.
easily like that.
Understood. So before we go to break, once again, the Adolescent Health Center is where you can call to get help with
Yes.
your teen, young person.
Yeah.
And
Give them out the number.
we're talking to Mr. Tyrone Johnson. You have the number right on.
328-3248, 328-3248 or 9.
Okay.
And that's the Adolescent
Adolescent Health
Health
Center,
Center,
School Lane off Shirley Street.
School Lane off Shirley
Yeah,
Street.
right by 100 Jams.
They will refer you to another agency if it is not exactly within their remit, but they will know where you need to be
Of course.
because there are many professionals in many different agencies. We are well equipped, but as I just said, over 60% know where to access the help. They just do not go for the help, or they do not trust anyone. Now, I could just say right now, Professor, you could take over here. We see
Yeah.
the jingle. The
Yeah,
producer
I
say,
hear
you
it.
all move on now.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
the staff is very professional and they know how to address your needs.
Yes, we are.
Everything
Yes.
is confidential.
Everything is confidential.
Everything
and
is
private.
confidential
Everything we
and
do
private.
with you
Yes.
is confidential and private. We
Okay.
have
This
no
is-
other choice.
This
Okay.
is Professor Sidney McArdle, Walter Thompson. We could go over to a break. We're discussing adolescent health with Mr. Johnson. And we have a whole range of problems and assistance can be given, but we must act on the information. This is Professor Sidney McArdle, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. My special guest, Dwayne Highland, Dr. Johnson. This is Professor Sidney McArdle, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Express yourself. We'll be back after the break.
0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We're discussing adolescent health, particularly with our young people under the age of 20 and Bahamians. We have some very serious problems. One difficulty we seem to have is even though we may have meetings, we have reports, we have this, we have that, but we're very slow in bringing action to a particular issue. And we have to work on that, Bahamians. You know, this is 52 years as an independent nation, and I've been telling you plainly. I asked two questions. What major constituency problems have been solved over 52 years? We're going to go in this tomorrow, because tomorrow is just the day before independence. The point is, Bahamians, that we do not put enough effort into taking decisive action on issues that affect our people, particularly our young people, and other issues as well. We have got to stop wasting time. The scripture says, ever learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. There are some very specific things that God says we must do. We're not doing that, Brother Johnson
That's
and
right.
Brother Tyler.
Mhm.
That is a major problem.
Mhm.
We could overcome a whole lot of things. And I said to people, when you look at the Holy Bible, which is the written word of God, and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, that's all you need, just the two of those
Those
things.
two documents.
We will be able to carry forth and build a successful nation. But we're not doing that. Why is it that we are always having meetings, always having studies, always having all kind of different things, and then you write up all these papers, and then the papers stay on the shelf.
And nothing
Then
happens.
nothing happens, and then one administration comes in after the other,
Mhm.
and then you hear them repeating themselves, or they got to change a word in it. Well, that maybe need to go to perhaps, and that kind of thing. And I've heard them nitpicking in those things
Of
like that.
course.
All of that wastes valuable time, and guess what happened? People are dying.
That's right.
Yeah. People are
That
hurting.
is a serious problem. Brother Johnson,
We
go
have
ahead.
this existing issue, and I've made mention of this before. I did a speech at a professional day at a school, and we were talking about why aren't the young people improving in certain areas. What you at grade 3 you do a national exam
Mhm.
called GLAT,
The GLAT, yes.
grade level assessment test.
Mhm.
If a child in grade 3 is from grade 1 to grade 3 is not showing improvement in their academic capabilities, and then they do the same thing in grade 6
Mhm.
or even worse in
Right.
grade 6, when that child gets to grade 7,
Mhm.
what do you think is going to happen? That child will continue to deteriorate. If they didn't do good in grade 3 and they did not do better in grade 6, what chances do they have to improve in grade 7?
Mhm.
Slim or to zero.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that the child can't learn. I'm not saying that's a special child. I'm saying you need to find an avenue to help train that child
Yes.
for the future. So that means you have to now put that child in a specific program that would help that child to improve in some area of his life.
That's
Maybe he's
correct.
good with his hands. He may not be academically inclined. He may be someone who can work better with his hands.
Well, of course.
Therefore, that same principle holds true. We have meetings. We recognize this is a problem. We do the framework for this. We do the framework for that. We understand where we need to improve.
Yes.
And then we put a document together. And then 2 or 3 months after that, we come back, oh, we have to change this documentation because it doesn't say the right thing. So if we
Yes.
did that 3 months ago, we come back another 3 months, the problem still exists.
Yes, it does. It certainly does.
Are we fixing the problem? Or are we
Wow.
just fixing the documentation
Wow.
to address the problem?
Wow.
That's a good point. That's an
We
excellent
only,
point.
we only
Brother
fixing the
Johnson.
documentation to
Wow.
fix the problem. And so we piling it up, like you said, We have it. Okay, we have it. This document, and by the time we get the document complete to say this is a working document to resolve and to strategize how we're going to fix this problem, bang, the government changes.
That's right.
And so all that work we did for about 2 or 3 years is down the drain because that's not going to get approved anymore.
No.
So while the professionals fixing the documentation,
the problem gets worse.
the problem
Gets
gets
worse,
worse. The
yeah.
teen right there say, let me have one collect, please.
Yeah.
Let me have
The
let me have
13-year-old,
one beer. Let me
Yeah,
have one bottle of rum.
the
Yes.
13-year-old, not only are they getting it out of the stores, but we have people who are doing 30 days.
Oh, yes, that is
Wow.
true. That's a big problem. That's a big
Wow.
problem.
And that again,
Right in the neighborhood. So,
Yes,
they,
sir.
so they only
It's
got to
right there.
walk, jump
right
over the back
behind
wall.
the corner, right next
there.
door.
Yeah, right next door. They even got to jump over the wall
No,
now.
Wow.
Miss Rose,
Yeah.
Mommy said if you could send her half a pint.
Yes. And it's right there.
Not Miss Rose.
I
Miss Rose,
just-
oh, Miss Rose, why you carry on so? Man, we
And
have
we
some.
laugh at it,
we
mind
have
you,
some
but it's a
work to
very
do.
serious
It is
No, they're
issue,
very
you know.
serious. Yeah.
It is
And we
serious.
don't address it. We
We
don't
don't
address it.
No, we
No
don't.
man, this gotta
We
stop.
don't address it.
Y'all-
And then you have
Mhm.
some people who are quote unquote
Mhm.
law enforcement
Okay, okay,
That's
okay,
another area.
who are coming to the same shop late in the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
okay.
Exactly.
I
Oh.
want, Miss Rose, come on.
What? So, would you trying to hold on now, Brother J? Our teenager up in the middle of the night after they run out or they supply and they trying to get their rum for the next day.
Mhm.
The teenager bucking the law enforcement right there to Miss Rose,
Uh-huh.
and no one saying nothing but
You
nothing.
can't do anything about that.
No.
Wow.
You can't say anything. You can't address that teenager when you see him on the street acting badly.
Mhm.
I just saw you last night,
Exactly.
Whoa.
Inspector.
Superintendent. Go hide in that superintendent.
Listen, hold on. Listen, man, listen. This funny. Hey, listen. The situation is not funny,
No, it's not.
but
It's
see,
serious. It
see,
exists.
see. The thing about
It
it
does
is,
exist. Yes,
see,
I agree.
see, Brother Johnson is privy to reports.
Yes.
See, he's bringing things to us from reports
Yes.
that he's dealing with, from
Yeah.
case studies
Yes.
that he cannot give names.
No,
Yeah.
So, or how do you say it, Brother Jay? The names have been changed to protect the not so innocent. but
I've
we
noticed
understand.
that being used quite often
Yeah,
nowadays.
but this so everyone what we are talking about here is that 1 out of 3 of our teenagers is a regular drinker. 1 out of 3, according to this report of over 2,200 and over 8 islands, many schools, many students have been approached and questioned. This report has been put together by Dr. Shavita Moxie
Okay.
out of the Ministry of Health. And of course, it was presented to the public by Dr. Darwell
Yes, he did.
on last week. So we have comments coming from Dr. Sandra Dane Patterson, who said that the center has been receiving more calls from teens expressing suicidal thoughts, especially boys and young men, although the volume varies, listen to this, daily. This is from Dr. Sandra Dane Patterson now. So there's something wrong, she's saying. So we recognize the need for us to be available and accessible to boys and men. They had a donation from Senator. We got to give props to Senator Darren Pickstock, gave a donation of $1,000 to support the crisis center's
yeah.
work.
Well, that's good.
All right.
Mhm.
So
A lot of work they do at the crisis center is voluntary.
Yeah, it is
Voluntary work.
voluntary. Yeah, that's true.
yes,
24
yes.
hours.
So there's a rise in drug use, a rise in obesity, a rise in drinking. The scientific study, once again, 2,200 students aged 12 to 18, across 35 institutions. And we're talking about the legal age for drinking in the Bahamas is 18, but 75% of the teens who bought alcohol said they were never asked for identification. That's an important statistic.
Yeah.
75%.
Mhm.
3 out of 4,
That's
no one
fair.
asks, no
one asks
questions.
anything, right?
No, they can't even reach the counter. They ain't even the size of the counter. They reaching up for the rum,
For the rum, yeah.
and no one asking them. You think the foreign liquor stores, you don't think they ask for the
We have a proliferation of them.
Yeah, a real proliferation.
man,
of
and,
them.
and they allowing them to be built across from schools.
Yes.
I see a bright yellow one there in Angliston. I mean, it's like so bright. I had to put on shades, so I had to look in that opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's so bright, you can't miss it.
Yeah, call it.
And it's saying, come right this way. We have all the rum you need right this way, across the street from the school. And something got to be done, man.
There's a whole lot that has to be done by the Highland and of course Professor Thompson. There's a whole lot that we need and still can do. But the caller said we need, or somebody said we need, someone who sent a message. We need Jesus, man.
Yeah, we do.
We need
Yeah.
Jesus.
We certainly
in
do.
society.
In other words, there has to be a repentant spirit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to
Because we
fix
can't continue going on like this. And
Yeah.
this is what's taking us down.
it. Right.
We're going,
Yeah.
ending 52 years,
Yeah.
day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
And going into year 53. We can't start off the year like this.
Right.
This doesn't make any sense.
Not at all. So over the years, let's look at chronic disease risk now. From 17% back in 1998, now we're looking at 40%
This is in chronic
obesity,
disease.
chronic disease, because obesity is a major driver of chronic disease.
Mhm.
So when you
That's it.
overweight, you are open to many, starting with diabetes, hypertension.
Yes.
So your blood sugar, when it's high, it just leads to many different diseases.
Yeah.
So we're saying 44%,
That is high.
only 6% of teens eat the recommended fruit intake, Brother Jay.
Yeah.
Now, that is a
6
problem.
to 10%.
All these fruits we have in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
But they eating all the sweets coming from soda consumption, which
Yes.
has gone up from 28%, just way back in 1998 now. 80% of the students are now drinking sugary drinks,
Yeah.
sodas and
And other artificial
sweet
drinks, yeah.
artificial drinks.
Yes.
80%. That's what they drinking like normal. And this is what is causing too much sugar. It's too much sugar. It's too much
intake,
energy.
yeah,
So
too much
now you
energy.
end up putting on weight and too much weight.
and not enough physical exercise.
Not enough
Not
physical
enough.
exercise. That's correct.
Physical exercise declined
Yeah.
according to this, plummeted.
Mhm.
Only 17% of teens achieve recommended exercise levels,
Mhm.
and sedentary behavior has increased, which is just sit still.
Sit back and relax.
Yeah,
Mhm.
from 55% to 72%.
And what they probably didn't include in that report is the game era. A lot of our young people are now enthralled in games where they sit down all day
No, that
every
is
day.
true.
Okay,
and just play games.
That is
That's
true.
Right,
sedentary
right.
behavior
Yeah.
amazing.
that they didn't mention. They
That
sit
is
down and play
correct.
games all day.
Yeah.
Or they on their
Yeah.
phone all day. Or they
Oh,
on
no,
the
that's
computer.
Amazing.
a problem.
All
Yeah.
day.
Amazing.
That
Another
is correct.
another area here, alarmingly, non-consensual sexual debut
Uh-huh.
was reported far more often by boys, 22%, than girls, 6%. Non-consensual.
Now, what does that mean?
Well,
Did they break that down to say
they didn't break it down who
exactly
initiated
the non-consensual
the
sex?
non-consensual sex.
So
So if it's non-consensual by the boy, obviously the other partner, they didn't even break it down
they didn't
to
say who the other partner is.
No,
whether
that's
what I'm talking about.
male or female.
Male or
I know where
female.
you're going, brother Jay.
Well, some don't even know whether they are male or female.
but
That's a mixed-up thing.
That's
but,
a mixed thing
but
right there.
Professor, this did not stipulate whether the boy experienced another boy
Right.
I realize that. yeah, you're
approaching
correct.
them,
Mhm.
or a girl or an adult. It
Adult
didn't
male
break
or
it down.
female.
Didn't break it
Yeah,
down.
that
They
is
didn't
correct.
break it down.
Now let's
Yeah.
look at let's use logic in this.
Wow.
Or the gift of
Ooh.
inference.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
If I was a young boy,
Mhm.
14, 15, 16,
Mhm.
and a young girl were to have non-consensual intercourse with me,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't reporting that.
In no way, shape, or fashion.
I'm not gonna report that.
You may say what you're doing next week.
Yes. Listen,
No.
let's try it again. Rape me next week.
Just listen. No, we got to defend our boys now.
So
What?
it's obvious that's not female.
It's likely to be other boys.
It's likely to be males. Yeah.
This is very serious.
It's likely now. It's not
Likely. It's not definitely.
Definitely, right.
But it's likely.
It's highly likely.
This is very serious.
Now we know the girls. We know the
Yeah.
girls. That's consensual from males.
Yes.
Non-consensual from males.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our girls are being sexually, physically, sexually
Right.
abused.
Yes, that's correct.
So we could assume that.
Wow.
Of course, we're not going wrong there.
Right.
But with the male thing, that male factor is very
Wow,
difficult
this
to
is-
pinpoint.
This
Yes.
is serious. So, bullying. We'll cover bullying.
Oh,
Bullying
jeez.
remains widespread,
Oh my goodness!
with more than 1 in 3 teens reported being bullied.
more than one.
More than 1 of 3. So that could be 2 or 3,
That could be
1 and a
2 or
half.
3. Well, we don't know the 1.5.
Man, they should get more into this.
Yeah.
They
So-
said
so-
more than one
More
out
than
of 3.
1 out of 3.
Yeah. So what is more than 1 out of 3?
It's too unclear.
Yeah,
So
it's
you're talking
unclear.
about above 33%.
Yeah.
That's all that's saying. Above 30. They didn't say 40% or
Yeah.
50.
It could be 3. It could be 3 of 3, because a whole lot of young people are being bullied in
Yeah.
schools nowadays.
Yeah.
It could be all 3 of them.
Yeah,
But that's just too
Yeah.
obscure. There.
Yeah.
That's
that is obscure.
Now,
yeah.
15.7% reported that they had been cyberbullied.
Mhm.
So over the internet, whether it's
Yeah,
TikTok, 'cause
yeah,
all of the
yeah.
social media pretty much allow for verbal
Of
exchange.
course.
You could put a
yes.
comment underneath something,
Yes.
or if you put a video out, somebody could comment and say, "Man, who you think you're gonna sit down with these
Blah,
tight
blah, blah.
pants, or
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you think you look goody, or whatever the case is."
Mhm.
You know?
and that is prevalent.
Yeah.
That is very, very prevalent
Yeah.
in our society. Bullying, it's
Right.
very, very prevalent. You know, in most of the schools that I've attended, and schools that I haven't attended,
Yeah.
there's a high level of bullying taking
Yeah.
place. A
Wow.
high level, private schools and public schools.
You know, something very challenging here, right in the middle of this report. But this isn't the report. This is the commentary. Say, here's a quote: "We are just seeing the consequences of our own behavior." This is coming from Sandra Payne, who's a therapist and counselor at the Crisis Center. She's saying this is a result of our behavior. She explained that for too long, the Bahamian society has bottled up emotions,
Mhm.
feeding a silence passed from parents to children. Now, that's intense.
Yeah,
That's intense.
that's deep. That's very deep,
Mm.
and we need to look into that.
Wow.
To see how things are being inherited
Yes.
from parents to children, to see how behaviors are being adopted
Adapted.
from
Yes.
parent to child,
Right.
and what can we do to eradicate
Curb that
to
or
curb
eradicate.
that?
Yes. Yeah. She
No, that is
urged
true.
She urged families and schools to create safe spaces where
Yes.
teens can share their feelings
Mhm,
without fear of ridicule
mhm, mhm,
or shame.
mhm.
Very important.
And we have some autocratic parenting.
Mhm.
You're the parent. What I say is
Mhm.
what goes.
Yeah.
You have no say in the matter. You have no opinion.
Mhm.
It's not a democracy.
Right.
It's an autocratic situation.
Right.
So I can't hear you. I'm not
Mhm.
listening to you.
Wow.
And that exists. And so
Yeah.
children now, they find safe places in the wrong places.
Wow. Wrong places. Understood. Understood. That's something if you've not heard, because yes, the report also stated that young people are saying they don't feel
Mhm.
heard
They don't feel heard.
or seen
No.
or supported.
Right.
Those 3 areas.
Mhm.
So if you go into a negative environment where a lot of people sitting down, they drinking
gonna
or
hear
they
you.
smoking under the tree,
They gonna
say, "What
hear
you
you."
saying? What you saying, you?
Mhm.
Come pull up a chair."
Yeah.
You know,
They
chair there,
gonna
you
hear
know,
you.
brother J. But
Yeah.
they say, "Pull up a chair."
Mhm. Come
Sit-
talk to me.
Come talk, man.
Yeah, man.
Or that's you going.
Or
yeah.
you know, the teen parties that they've been having over the past maybe 3-4 years now.
Okay,
These teen
they're
parties
getting
where
very popular.
they
Yes,
are popular.
yes.
You have
Airbnb.
hundreds of children
Wow.
under the age of 17 from
Okay.
12 to maybe even 20
Okay.
who are attending these parties. Sometimes they scantily dressed,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes hardly any clothes on.
Okay.
And that's for them, that's a safe space for them.
Wow.
That's where they can express themselves. That's where they can be heard. All the reggae dancing and all the wild carrying on and
Right.
and all these things. That's for them. That's a relief.
Right.
And some children, they run away to go to these things. They run away to go to these functions.
Wow. Well, today is, Professor, if you don't mind, just for the sake of full disclosure, you'll always hear me saying, well, Professor, I volunteer with young people. It's Brother Johnson that I volunteer with.
That's good.
If y'all don't see me talking, it's too much talk, Brother J, and I getting tired of talk. So the Adolescent Health Center is a very powerful institution.
Come. We have an open door policy.
Yes.
You can walk in with your child if you feel that your child is going downhill quick, fast, and in a hurry. Come find us, walk in, talk with us. We can find, we can give you the help, or we can find them. 328-3248, 328-3248 or 9. 328-3248 or 9.
Thank you so much, Brother Johnson. Professor, take it over. We've been here with Brother Tyrone Johnson
I appreciate
of the
opportunity.
Adolescent Health Center.
Yes, sir.
We want to thank you, Brother Johnson, for enlightening us on this particular issue.
Yes.
And Bahamians is a major issue. We're going to have to deal with that. And of course, closing out this 52nd year by tomorrow. I think tomorrow being Wednesday. And then, of course, the next day is Independence. Bahamians, we're going to be discussing independence tomorrow. We should have a special guest. In fact, we expect 2 or 3 others in here for tomorrow. Bahamians, let's have a happy Independence Day to all Bahamians out there throughout the country. And then let's realize that we have, in most cases, we are much better off than most places around the world. We have our share of problems, but we have to understand that we must make the country a better place. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM on Express Yourself. And Bahamians, make sure that you do your best as we move into our 53rd year. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Have a very pleasant afternoon, and we'll see you again tomorrow.